Imagine you're building a city that floats. It's packed with the most high-tech equipment imaginable, hundreds of people, and it's all there for one reason: to drill miles beneath the seabed, right in the middle of the ocean. That's the kind of scale we're talking about with modern offshore energy projects, where a single tiny mistake can cost billions of dollars, and even more importantly, it can cost lives.
So, how on earth do you manage something that complex? With all those moving parts, all that risk, how do you get every single person, from the geologists in the lab, to the engineers on the rig, to the captains of the supply ships, all working from the exact same playbook?
Well, the answer is you do it with a rulebook, a massive, incredibly detailed set of procedures. And what you're seeing here, this isn't even the book itself. This is just the table of contents for a few volumes of the Petronas Procedures and Guidelines for Upstream Activities, or PPGUA. And that's the master document we're going to deconstruct.
And let's be clear, this isn't just some dusty old manual sitting on a shelf somewhere. The PPGUA is basically the central nervous system for Malaysia's entire upstream oil and gas industry. It dictates every single action for every contractor involved in billions of dollars worth of projects. So let's break down how this master plan actually works.
Okay, so first things first, we need to get into the mindset behind this document. You really have to think of it as a high-stakes playbook where every single word is chosen with absolute precision. Why? Because in this world, any little bit of ambiguity can lead to an absolute disaster.
The PPGUA covers all upstream activities. Now, that's the industry term for the whole journey, right? From the initial hunt for oil and gas, to the super complex job of developing the field, and all the way to the final extraction. It's a massive scope, covering everything you can think of. And this is where that precision becomes crystal clear. Right in the document's preamble, it defines its own language. The word shall means something is mandatory, period, no exceptions. The word should, on the other hand, means it's a recommendation. And believe me, that distinction is everything. It removes all the guesswork and makes sure that the most critical safety and operational rules are completely non-negotiable. So, let's follow the process from the beginning and see how this all builds up. We start with Chapter 1, the search. This is the exploration phase, and it's basically a high-tech detective story played out across huge stretches of ocean, all meticulously choreographed by the PPGUA. Before a single ship can even think about leaving port to go look for oil, Volume 5 of the PPGUA demands this incredibly detailed proposal. I mean, we're talking precise survey coordinates, the specific geological targets you're aiming for, the exact specs of the vessel, and a fully fleshed out emergency and security response plan. This is next-level planning. And the process itself is way more than a simple go out and look mission. This flowchart shows all the mandatory steps, and some of them might surprise you. Before any seismic work can even begin, crews have to do things like scout for fish traps and even hold compensation negotiations with local fishermen. Every single box on this chart is a step you shall take. This timeline really puts it all into perspective. Just submitting the proposal happens more than a month before anything starts. The actual operation at sea might only take a month, but then processing all that data, that can take another 3 to 6 months. The key takeaway here is that the search is a long, carefully orchestrated campaign, not just a quick trip out to sea. Okay, so once you've found a promising target, you move into the next phase, the drill. This is the high-risk, high-reward heart of the entire operation. It's where the engineering gets really serious and where the PPGUA's focus on safety becomes razor-sharp. So how do you safely drill thousands of feet under the seabed? Well, as Volume 8 lays out, you build the well in layers, almost like a telescopic fortress going into the earth. You start with a wide drive pipe. Then you insert progressively narrower layers of steel casing, the conductor, the surface, intermediate, and finally, the production casing. Each one is cemented in place to guarantee stability and prevent any leaks. To make the idea of safety rules a bit more real, just look at this list. It's pulled right from the table of contents of Volume 8. Every single drilling rig must have these systems. A blowout preventer, or BOP, that's your last line of defense. An emergency shutdown system, gas detectors, even a derrick escape device for workers way up high on the rig. These aren't suggestions, they're mandatory.
And the PPGUA gets even more specific than that. This table shows the exact minimum required components for that blowout preventer at different stages of drilling. When you're past the conductor casing, you need a diverter. Once you hit the surface casing, you shall have an annular preventer, 2 pipe rams, and 1 blind shear ram. There is absolutely zero room for interpretation here.
Finally, you gotta remember, none of this happens in a vacuum. All of this work requires a massive support network, which brings us to Chapter 3, the fleet. This is the unseen logistical ballet of specialized ships and boats that keeps the entire offshore operation running 24/7.
You want to know how strict the rules are for this fleet? Here's one number that says it all. 15 years. According to Volume 11, that is the maximum age for most of the offshore support vessels. This is all to ensure the fleet is modern, reliable, and above all, safe.
The rules even have this nuance built right in, based on risk and duration. For a barge on a long-term charter, that age limit is a hard 15 years. But for a short-term job, it can be up to 25 years old, but only if it's had a complete refurbishment in the last 5 years, all certified by an international authority. It's a risk-based approach, written right into the regulations. And the fleet itself is incredibly diverse. You've got fast crew boats zipping personnel back and forth, huge anchor-handling tugs to move rigs into place, platform supply vessels that are like the workhorses carrying equipment, and super specialized diving support vessels. The PGUA has detailed specs for each one, making sure the right tool is used for the right job every single time. So after looking at the search, the drill, and the fleet, what's the big takeaway here? What's the final word? It's that the PPGUA is so much more than just a set of rules. It's an entire system designed from the ground up to manage immense, almost unbelievable complexity.
You know, this quote from Volume 11 really just says it all. The ultimate goal of this billion-dollar rulebook is to make sure operations are safe, reliable, and efficient. Because in the world of offshore energy, those three things, they're the absolute pillars of success and survival.
And that leaves us with a final thought. The level of detail in the PPGUA is just staggering, and it represents a huge investment in time, planning, and compliance. So it makes you wonder, in a world that is constantly hungry for more energy, what is the true price? And maybe more importantly, what's the true value of this kind of precision?